right, guys, well, one of the biggest questions I get asked is how did I do the patina on my truck? Every time I'm at a show, people want to know, okay? So I'm going to show you today how I did it, okay? I've got a junk door here off of a parts car in the backyard. It's a newer car, but you know, no big deal. Now, one thing you do need to watch if you're trying to patina anything newer, which I wouldn't do in the first place, but if you decide to, is make sure all of it is metal. Okay, this door here, I never really paid attention to it, but the bottom half of the door is plastic. You need to make sure, because before you start sanding all that paint off and find out, oh shit, half the car is freaking plastic. So do your research, look at the car, go over it, make sure it's all metal, find if there's Bondo in it, things like that. These are all things you're going to have to work around, all right? So today I'm going to show you how to prep the metal and my mix that I use for making patina. All right, let's take a look. All right, guys, this is some of the items you're going to need to actually do this job, all right? Now, when prepping the metal, okay, taking the paint off, you're going to need either a orbital sander, DA, whatever you got, 120 grit sandpaper, 220 grit sandpaper. You can also use a grinder with a flapper disc. Now this is going to take it off really fast, so you got to be careful what you're doing. Okay, and if you're using new metal, a piece of new metal, you're going to use acetone and clean it really well to make sure you get all the oil off the metal. Once you do that, then it'll be prepped and ready for the next stage. Now, when we're creating the rust and we're making the patina, we're going to mix up our own batch, okay? So what we're using is boiled linseed oil, mineral spirits, distilled vinegar, a spray bottle, table salt, and hydrogen peroxide. Now, it seems like a lot, but when you put it all together, believe me, it's not hard. All right, guys, well, let's prep this door and this metal, and that way we can start spraying. All right, look, now I'm only going to do a section of the door. I'll do a section with the grinder and then another section with the sander. This is just to show you the technique I use for doing it, okay? Now, it's up to you when you do it on how much you actually expose. Now, with the truck, I only expose probably 50% of the truck actual metal to paint because I wanted to see all the layers. Now, this door has only been painted once. Okay, so we're going to have to be careful on how much we take off. But we're going to do a section and do a section and show you guys how it's done.
I love it in the morning. I love it in the evening.
Now guys, how much paint you take off is really up to you, okay? I showed 3 different ways here of how much. So just a speckled pattern here with the grinder and then softened with the sander. This area down here, which is completely taken off with the grinder and then just sanded off to get the grinding marks off. And this area over here is completely with the sander. This is the technique I used on the truck, but I mean, to each its own, depends on how much you want. If you want all metal, use the grinder because you're going to take it off a lot faster, okay? But if you're trying to be strategic on how much paint you remove and things like that, you're going to want to use the sander. Now, before we can let this go to the next stage, we need to clean it up. There's dust all over this. So what we're going to do is just take a rag and some acetone and clean it. Now, with new metal, okay, I know this piece has been welded, but it's still fresh steel. You're going to want to clean it with acetone. There's lots of oil that they put in the metal, or on the metal, to keep it from rusting at the stockyards. So you want to get that oil off or it won't activate properly. There we go. Now we'll just let this air dry. Alright guys, now we're going to mix up a batch of the solution I used to activate the rust. Now I've got a simple spray bottle I bought from Depot, nothing special, okay? Take out your liter. Alright, now first thing we're going to do is the table salt. Now this is just some normal pure sea salt my wife bought at Costco. She's probably pretty pissed because I have it in the garage. Alright, so we're going to put in this bottle, I'd say I've got about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of salt in the bottom. Okay? Now, hydrogen peroxide. Now this is a 32 ounce bottle. Okay? I'm going to start putting this in. I'd probably put about half in, so about 16 ounces in. Then you're going to top the rest off with distilled vinegar. If I can get it open. Filled it up to about right here, and that's going to leave enough room to shake it and mix it. Now you need to shake this and mix this until the salt, you can't see the salt in the bottom. You really want that salt mixed up well with the hydrogen peroxide and the distilled vinegar. Now we're going to simply start just spraying coats on it, all right? And as you can see, it doesn't take long. It starts to rust right away. Spray some of this new steel too. Now we're going to let that sit for 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and put another coat on. Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes. So what you're going to do is just take a rag, and you see how it's foamed up everywhere. So you're just going to gently dab that off. You don't want to wipe it too much because it just moves everything around. You just gently dab it. You see it all comes off in the rag. So once you've done that, here, let's do this new piece too. Gently dab it just to get the foam off. Now the foam is the hydrogen peroxide reacting, so not a big deal. And then go ahead and coat it again. It's okay if it runs, it's not a big deal. Just go ahead and soak it again. Now you're going to continue to do this process probably 5 or 6 times throughout the day, and then you're going to let it sit overnight. All right? All right, well, it's the next day now, and everything's had time to dry. You know, I did probably 5 coats of actual spraying the mixture on it. So now it's the time to figure out, do you want to leave it rusted with like the orange raw rust, or do you want to protect it? So I'm going to show you how to protect it, and then you can make the decision for yourself at whatever stage you want to stop. Okay? Now to protect it, what I use is boiled linseed oil and mineral spirits. Okay? Make sure when you're buying, you can buy regular linseed oil or you can buy boiled. You want to make sure it's boiled. Okay? Because the regular linseed oil gets gummy. You don't want that. So what I mix it is 1 part mineral spirits to about 10 parts of the boiled linseed oil. So it's not like, just a little bit to thin it, okay? That's all you're doing. Now, I have this jar that I made up back when I did my truck. The stuff goes a really long ways. So you can just keep it around in a jar. It's fine to keep using it. And so that's what I'm gonna use today. All right, let's show you how this works. Well, as you can see, it's all rusted up, and you look, if you can see in the right angle, it's got like crystals all over it. Now what we're gonna do is just dust it off. Dry rag, dust it off. Now at this point, if you notice that there's areas you didn't get well enough, things like that, now's the time to go back and do it. Because once we get the oil on, you're not going to be able to go back and spray more to make it more solvent to make it rust more, okay? So now's the time to look at it and decide if you need to do more before you seal it in. All right, with this stuff, just dab your rag into it. Get it wet. A little goes a long ways. Just start applying it right to it. At this point, you've coated everything on the door and it's got a big sheen to it. Now that'll go away. As it dries in, the sheen will come down to like a matte finish or a semi-gloss finish, okay? Now what you want to do is I let it sit on for a while and I take a dry terry cloth and just kind of buff it like so. And it takes the excess off, okay? And that'll take away some of that sheen. All right guys, well, that's it. I mean, as you can see, it's not a hard process. Once you get it down, you can start putting your own tweaks on it and get really creative with it and make something awesome. So you guys, if you like this video, do me a favor, like and subscribe. And if you want to see other stuff I've done, there's a link over here. You guys have a great night.